All right, let's talk about the conformity gate thing because today is the only day that this is going to be relevant, right? I'm posted on TikTok here where I usually post my Pete on the street questions. You guys always respond to them. I want to see what you think about this video. All right, conformity gate, everyone knows what it is, right? Because we're all talking about it today. Everyone thinks there is a secret episode 9 of Stranger Things that's going to premiere today, January 7th. And it's pretty exciting. I personally do not think it's going to happen at all. I think that what is happening is that a lot of people were dissatisfied with the finale of Stranger Things. And so therefore they are looking for evidence to point out that there's more to the story, that it was all just, a delusion, that Vecna is controlling everyone's minds. And so we're going to find out that something actually really awful happened, or maybe there's a bigger battle that needs to be fought where people will die. And it's just exciting to me because it's just showing me how energized and motivated people can get to prove something is real. And that's why out of my 3 channels, right, there's Comic Books Transformed, where me and Brian review comic books that have been adapted into movies and streaming shows. Then there's the Lastercast, where me and Danny review horror movies and streaming shows. And that's where we reviewed every episode of Stranger Things. And then there's my last channel, Aether and ATX, where I talk about manifestation and reality and how you can change your reality. And that's where this video is going to be posted on YouTube, because I like the idea of this collective mania where everyone is just so desperate to prove that they know what reality is. They are like, hey, guess what? The Duffer Brothers are tricking us. They're these creative geniuses and they've given us one ending, but then we're going to get a new one today on January 7th. So what's going to end up happening is that it's going to turn midnight. It's going to become January 8th. And there isn't going to be a 9th episode of Stranger Things. It's going to happen. And then what you'll see is there's going to be a bunch of people, but a much smaller number than what we're seeing right now, that are going to be like, well, it wasn't actually January 7th. It's going to be the documentary that's coming out on January 12th. That's going to be the real secret finale. And when that comes by and they see it's just a documentary, then they're going to say, well, it's not that date. It's going to be this other date. So what happens is, reality itself keeps showing us, evidence that what we want isn't happening. And so we keep trying to justify in our minds, okay, well, it didn't happen now. What's going to happen at this point, right? And so we keep looking for evidence to prove that we're right, even though reality is showing us something else. And to me, that's what I feel like a lot of the manifestation videos on YouTube and on TikTok are. They're like, oh, well, you're not seeing results. You're doing these things I told you to do to manifest in reality. You're not seeing these results. It's because of this. And you will see results down the line. It's this idea of believing in something, even though the world itself is not giving you the evidence that you're looking for. Now, I think it's important to point out why people seem dissatisfied with the ending of this show. I think that, and I discussed this with Danny. Danny, actually, you should go check out our review, because Danny said that the finale of Stranger Things was better than the finale of Seinfeld. It was better than the finale of Lost. And it was better than the finale of The Sopranos. So, do with that what you will. But I thought that the finale was good, but it just feel like it wasn't satisfying, right? Now, one of the things that has come up in my conversations with my friends about the finale, about the show in general, Brian said this, Danny said this, it was like the finale that fit this show, right? And I've always kind of thought of Stranger Things as the potential to be great, but it was just falling below the line, right? It was, I wouldn't say mediocre, but it wasn't this brilliant piece of work that everyone claims it to be, And so that's the same way I felt about the finale. I enjoyed it. I did tear up maybe once or twice, but I ultimately felt like, if there were certain changes, if things were edited out, if different things happened to the characters, this would be more satisfying. And most likely the changes would be that some characters would die or horrible things would happen to certain characters. I think that's collectively what these people that are buying into Conformity Gate are looking for. I think that when it comes to stories, we need there to be a price that's paid by the main characters. Now, you could, spoilers, you could say that Eleven actually did die and that what Mike says at the end of the last episode is just basically a fantasy that he came up with, right? That's the cool thing about the ending, is that it's ambiguous, right? Is he just telling everyone his ideal situation for what happened to 11, or is it actually what happened to 11, right? And, you know, that, I guess, in itself would be interesting, and it would be satisfying on some level, because one of the main characters, like arguably the main character of the show, died. But it's still not enough. You know, we've gone through 5 years, 42 episodes. It was building and building to this grand conclusion. And like, even in some of the things that we love so much, right? Like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, things like that. Often a lot of the main characters survive to the very end. And the ones that you really care about don't die, right? Luke, Han, and Leia, they all survive at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? Lord of the Rings, I don't think any of the main characters in the Fellowship besides Boromir die in those 3 movies, or the 3 books, right? So it's not uncommon for all the main characters, all the beloved characters to live. But I think that the level of suffering and physical pain and mental anguish that those characters go through in that trilogy, it's more than what the majority of the characters on Stranger Things go through throughout the 5 seasons. Now, the characters, obviously, there's characters that die, right? Eddie is the best example. Bob, right, from season 2. There's a whole bunch of characters. Billy, right, they die. And the audience feels it. And some of the main characters are directly affected. But it's still, it doesn't have that, like, that gut punch of if one of the core kids that were playing D&D died, right? So it's like, as a collective, we're looking for this thing. We're looking for this feeling of satisfaction. And since we're not getting it from reality, we're wanting it to be something else. I kind of wish that there would be a 9th episode, it would just be the most radical thing, right? To do the surprise twist. And I guess the way that they would frame it would be like, if you're satisfied with the ending of episode 8, then that's it, right? And you can just stop the show there. But if you want something more, if you want like a darker ending, then, watch this 9th episode. If the 9th episode was to start, I feel like it would go the exact same way that the 8th episode did. But there's that one part when Steve falls off the tower and the screen goes blank, right? It's just black. And that's about 7 seconds of time. And then they're able to save Steve. I feel like that would be where the story starts to diverge and go in a different direction. I don't know. Like, it's real interesting because obviously so many people want this to be the case, but I think that the majority of people think that there's only just 8 episodes and nothing like this has been done before. And that's why I don't think that a special 9th episode of Stranger Things is going to manifest today. I don't know. You let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with my reason for why this episode 9 is like so important to people? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about Conformity Gate. All right, this is a very long ass Pete on the Street, and let's see what happens by midnight tonight.